What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Foxboro Rush. But hey, check out the latest episode of Boston Has Entered the Chat, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please make sure to download, subscribe, rate, review, and all that. The latest episode of the chat, it's all Alex Bregman. He's officially with the Red Sox, what that means for their lineup on opening day, down the road, and the effect he has throughout the clubhouse. Will Middlebrooks stops by the show, and we give the full breakdown on what this signing means. Alex Bregman, two-time World Series champion, now in Boston. Now, let's get to Rush. What's up? Welcome in. It's Foxboro Rush. I'm George Balekji. Yeah. He's Travis Thomas.
Hey.
How we feeling today, my man?
I'm feeling great, man. You know what I want to talk, though, now the NFL season's over? NFL Draft.
Yeah?
That's what I want to talk. I'm fired up for I'm not quite you, GM George, but I am fired up for the draft.
Offensive line talk?
No.
All right.
No.
Well, you know what? To help you out, we're going to have plenty of NFL draft talk. We got a special episode today. Eric Edholm, NFL.com lead draft writer, is joining the show to tell us about his latest mock, where we saw both Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter go top three. So what does that mean for the Patriots? Okay. Keagan Stiefel hops on the show. We do mock draft 2.0. And we also take some questions from our YouTube comments as well to bring you guys into the show. You got questions? We got answers. But let's get right to them. Let's bring them in. Eric Edholm, NFL.com lead draft writer. Eric, appreciate you taking the time. How are we doing today, my man?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm entering the period where nobody calls me for 9 months, and then 3 months I'm the most popular guy on the planet. So this is my heyday, man. Let's go. You guys are first in line.
I love it. I love it. Well, you just put out your mock January 31st, and this is what caught my eye, because I see in the order of 1, 2, 3, top 3 picks, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward. What is leading you to see in a mock draft for you, which a lot can change, but Abdul Carter be that number 1 overall pick and overall this order of those top 3 guys?
Yeah, obviously a lot depends on what the Titans are going to do at quarterback and how they, view Sanders and Ward and how they view Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter for that matter. I mean, those are the 4 players I think that make the most sense to go in the top 4 spots. I don't know that it'll necessarily end up that way. And we've got a new GM who came from the Chiefs and Mike Borgonzi, and Chad Brinker's been there a little bit, and his quote about the generational talent, they're not going to pass up one of those at the number 1 pick. When he said that, I thought of 2 guys, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Depending on what you think of them, those are probably the 2 most special talents, relative to their positions. And for Hunter, it's 2 positions. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was my initial thought. And the good news is January mock drafts are, they're like training camp practice. If you throw 4 picks, you're all right, man. Like, you're just experimenting, right? You're just trying to get loose and feel the landscape out. So that's what this is for. This is my my experimentation phase. I had Ginty going 6th, so you get to play around a little bit until the chips start falling in place.
No, I love that. And when you do the forecasting forward, because a lot could change. Like, you had Shedeur Sanders going top 7 in this draft. Surely he could sneak his way into top 3 because of the value of a quarterback position and how badly franchises need a franchise QB. If you were to look at Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, one of those guys, if Shedeur Sanders slots in, likely falls out of the top 3. Who do you see as a better fit for the Patriots and what they need? Because that's what all fans are looking at. If Travis Hunter's there, if Abdul Carter's there, you take him at 4.
Yeah, that's a great question. If both guys were on the board and they had a real decision to make there, I would lean back on, and I understand he's not the GM, but I would look back at Mike Vrabel's history of kind of spending more attention on, I don't know if you'd quite call it the lines of scrimmage, but the force players up front. And that's not to suggest that Travis Hunter can't be a tremendous corner. That's the position he's listed out for the combine, or a terrific big play receiver. And you could play it either way. You could make him a full-time corner and a moonlighting receiver, or you could do it the other way around. Play him on 3rd downs or 2-minute situations or red zone or whatever on defense and have him be a full-time wide receiver. I think both plans could work, but just kind of looking at what Vrabel, and it's essentially the position he played, and I don't know how much that matters to him, but pressure players up front. The questions around, they trade Judon obviously towards the end of his career. We don't know what Christian Barmore's situation is after the kind of the lost season. You start looking at the number of, players outside of like Keon White off the top of my head, right, who can create havoc up front. And it makes a lot of sense. Now, you don't want to necessarily go need if you have a special player at a position you're fairly decent at, but that both crosses off the need box and also the talent box, because I don't know that he's quite Micah Parsons, but I think he can do some similar things to what Parsons has done in his career. And, looking back, he should have gone a lot higher than the 12th or 13th pick, whatever he was.
Hey, you mentioned him in the same sentence as Micah Parsons. That's a lot on Abdul Carter. And on your end, Eric, what Mike Vrabel said from his introductory presser, it's about affecting the quarterback. And that goes into what you're saying a lot about Abdul Carter.
Yep. Absolutely. Right. I mean, we can count sacks and forced fumbles and all that, but when you're having to commit so many resources to deal with a player like Carter, as many teams did, you can see the effect it has. It really kind of makes you a left-handed offense, so to speak. It really does limit the number of options you have offensively. So obviously pressures add up and hits are cumulative throughout a course of the game. And that's something we kind of forget sometimes, is that, even if the other team is completing passes, if you're getting hits on the quarterback or you're forcing him to speed things up, that changes everything. And he's just if you see how effective he was last season after switching positions, it's kind of a similar transition to what Micah did too. I think they followed kind of the same playbook in some respects in terms of, opening up the possibilities. They kind of did it in the other direction, I guess, but still, I think you could view him as a rusher, as a drop player, as a run force player. You can use him in so many different ways up front, and I think he'll be a very good player, if not in perennial all-pro type.
Eric, before I get to my question, I just want you to know sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, the rest of those 9 months when no one's calling you to come on for an interview, you are welcome here on Foxboro Rush. You are family to the program, my man.
I already feel welcome and accepted. That's a good feeling. So I appreciate that sentiment very much. And yeah, man, I can talk music, food, art, all whatever. Right. You guys can bring me on for other topics too. So
all right.
See that, George? He's a man of many talents. Now I want to ask you about Mason Graham and his talent, because a lot of people suggest he may be a better prospect than an Abdul Carter. As you sort of break down Mason Graham, what do you see in terms of a prospect? Is he on par or even better than an Abdul Carter? And also, what do you think about the fit with the Patriots if they went that direction instead of Carter?
I think that's who I had in my first mock. Yep. 2 weeks ago in January, February is a lifetime, but still, I think that's who I had at number 4. And it was fascinating watching him. He's sort of a do-it-all guy. Like, I don't think there's a true weakness in his game. Now, that said, I don't know that he has a superpower other than his effort and his intellect. I think, just his ability to kind of diagnose plays and things like that up front. I think he's a really good football player. I think what makes him special is that he's super reliable. I think that's another reason why it made sense to me for Vrabel for a first pick. Again, you have an entire scouting department and everything else. And, this isn't somebody who I think is going to dominate in a statistical fashion that you would normally see, like an Aaron Donald or even a Jeffrey Simmons, if you want to kind of go the Vrabel route or whatever. But he can play pretty much every technique up front. He's got the frame. The length is okay, but he's a real stout guy, strong, good quickness. I'm trying to think of a good comp. Maybe somebody you guys would, maybe Zach Allen, who's obviously broken out. A better version of that, but in terms of like play style or something, I could see some similarities there. Obviously a guy with a local connection there, but normally would I put him number 4 in a mock draft in most years? I don't think so. I think it feels more of like a back end of the top 10 guy, but again, that's not a massive difference. And for a team that wants to hit a stand-up double with their pick, I think this is the guy. I feel very, very comfortable with him. Am I madly head over heels in love with him? No, but I think you would be pretty darn thrilled if you got this guy. And if you got him outside the top 5, it's even better. But that I would still endorse a pick like that somewhere in that range.
Yeah, that's what I've been preaching is maybe they can trade back a bit. You would have to stay within the top 10, acquire more picks, more draft assets, and then still take this kid on the back end of the top 10, as you mentioned. So we agree there. It also seems as though there's a consensus that Cam Ward is a better prospect and will go before a Shedeur Sanders. However, I'm a big Sanders fan. Why is it, you think, as you break this stuff down, that Cam Ward is getting, the consensus sort of favoritism over Sanders? Why do you think that is specifically?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think he's viewed to have maybe a little bit superior physical traits for sure. I mean, I think his arm talent's a little better. I think his athleticism is a little better. This is a kid who grew up playing in a option, a triple option type of offense in college or in high school, excuse me, and was really, overlooked as a prospect. He went to Incarnate Word and then Washington State, and then by the time he got to Miami, everybody knew his talent and everything. And I think he sort of fits more of the archetype of the modern dual threat quarterback. Not to say that Sanders can't use his legs. He does create. He's just not the same kind of scrambler. I would say style-wise, he's probably closer to Joe Burrow than he is, Josh Allen or Lamar or whatever, even Jalen Hurts. And maybe there's a little bit of Hurts in Ward's game. I'm not saying they're mirror images of each other, but I think there's at least some overlap there. So it's going to probably come down to what you feel most comfortable with. I mean, Shedeur's frame is pretty small. That's the one thing that other people have kind of mentioned. You're talking about a guy who's taken like 80 sacks over the last 2 years. The medical is going to be important for him. I think that's part of his evaluation. Again, he doesn't have a killer arm. It's more about his accuracy, his toughness, and his football smarts that I think are a big part of it. There also will be some teams who are turned off by the Dion thing and his quotes from starting before last draft about, oh yeah, there's certain teams I don't want Shedeur to play for. We haven't heard that as much recently, but it's hard not to think if you're an evaluator, well, do we want to draft a guy who doesn't want to be here? So that may slim his pool down a little bit too, which I think you have to factor in on some level.
Yeah, and that's something that, Trav, great thing you point out. And Eric, I think it's relieving to hear in a way if you could say, hey, I can see Mason Graham being back-end top 10 pick, because if the Patriots are 4, a team wants a quarterback, that's when they can build up draft capital, maybe move back to 6 or 7. It all depends. Another name we have to ask about, and because Patriots fans are so curious about him, at number 4, or say they do a trade back and they're sitting at 6 or 7, does Tetairoa McMillan make sense? What do you see in him as a draft prospect of the guy that is wide receiver 1? And when I watch him, Eric, full disclosure, I see Drake London, which is something you love. But does Tetairoa McMillan make sense for the Patriots?
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I was like, that's the guy he reminded me of watching him, kind of that volleyball player in football pads, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? Obviously, his production is incredible. You look at the last 2 years, and I don't think anyone had better receiving numbers on the whole. And it's not just 8-yard hitches and slants and things like that. I mean, he's catching balls downfield too. There's tape against the Hunter where he made some plays too. So, I just feel like, if you have Drake May and you believe that he can be the superstar that he showed glimpses of this year, you have to buttress him with not only an offensive line, but also the proper receiving talent. And, there's, I feel like I'm this much short of loving him as a player, but I again, kind of like Graham, it's like hard not to like him. I mean, there's a lot to like, just like Drake London has been a very good player. Has he been the number 8 quality player from that draft? Maybe right around there, I mean, it's like he's played almost to his draft position. And I think the team that drafts McMillan is going to feel about the same. Will he ever be that true transcendent game-changing number 1 like a Justin Jefferson? I don't think so. But with this kind of physical talent and the right quarterback and the right system, Josh McDaniels, et cetera, I mean, I can't rule it out. So 4, again, just feels a little rich for me, but in that trade back situation, either Graham, McMillan, an offensive lineman, I think I would feel better about again in that range, 7 to 9 range. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Eric, I know you covered the Senior Bowl. Talk to me about our boy, BC pass rusher, stud, Donovan Ezeiruaku.
I got you. I've been practicing it.
Thank you. I mean, we've only talked about him every day, George. But, Eric, what did you see? And do you think, most importantly, the Patriots can end up with this kid? Because I've been going around trying to get people to sign a petition to get him here in New England. Keep him here in New England. What do you think of this kid?
Now, let's see. Boston College pass rusher, 6'2", 245, maybe 250. Slept on a little bit, for a guy who had immense sack production. Kind of, it sounds like Harold Landry, doesn't it?
Sure does.
I mean, I'm not saying he's a carbon copy of him as a player, but there's definitely some overlap in who drafted him, right?
Right.
So I would never say never to that possibility. I think he's going to go in the back half of round 1 if I had to guess.
Wow.
He went from like a maybe early second round pick to a first rounder in my eyes, at least. Yeah. He and Mike Green, the other kid from Marshall, they were 1-2 in FBS and sacks, and it seemed like they were kind of chasing each other throughout the year. I didn't get to talk to either one. I was mad because I had some other stuff I was writing down there, but both of them stood out. It was funny, too. I had a conversation with a guy Tuesday night and said, evaluator, who looked good, what'd you think? And he was leaving the next morning, and I said, why are you only staying for one day? He's like, man, I'll tell you what, more and more people like kind of latch on to the day one winners. Like, if you win day one, there's a good chance you're going to do well for yourself in the draft. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter what you do days 2 and 3 or in the game at the Senior Bowl, but it always feels like the guys who burst out day one, and Ezeiruaku was one of them, and so was Green and a few other guys, but you're going to do pretty well for yourself. So I don't know if he lasts as long as Landry did, kind of mid-second round or whatever that was. But if he can, his length is a little worrisome. Mm-hmm. His weight, being able to hold up against the run as a full-time 3-down kind of player. But, man, his little jab steps and his little fakes and his little ghost rushes he does, and I mean, he's got some juice to him, and it was on display in the one-on-one. So it would not shock me at all if he ends up a top 25 type of player. But early round 2 wouldn't shock me either, and that's right in their wheelhouse.
Hey, you point that out. You have Mike Green in your mock from January 31st, 28th overall. Our guy Donovan Ezeiruaku, 17th overall. Wow. But that says a lot about the guy he is. And Eric Edholm, you said it, man. You're like, I forget where I had him. I think top 25. You got him top 20, and I don't blame you. High character guy, really refined. Bill O'Brien absolutely loved him. So he's Eric Edholm, NFL.com, lead draft writer. Eric, next time, we're not going to wait 9 months.
That's
but
right.
we'd love to have you back on before the draft.
That's
You're
right.
the man. Loved all your insight, brother. Thanks for joining the show on Foxboro Rush.
And the good news is my off-season rates are way cheaper, so you're in good shape. There.
Woo! Before I let you go, real quick, Eric, best band you ever saw live, real quick.
Oh man, well, I'm a Grateful Dead Fish guy, so like
we're saving
pretty
that
high
next
up on
episode.
my list. But
let's go.
You made George's year,
Dead
bro.
and Co. It's
I made
John
your
Mayer,
year.
life-changing for me.
I would say that New Year's '95 show that I saw at Madison Square Garden. I'm dating myself here. I'm a little old, but yeah, that's got to be up there in the all-time shows, I would say.
Eric, you're the man. All right, I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Actually, we're bringing you back on tomorrow.
Let's
go.
Eric
Edholm, NFL.com. You could talk draft with him, football, and Dead and Co. Grateful Dead. That's my guy. Thanks, Eric.
See you later, guys.
Hey, make sure to check out the latest episode of Boston Has Entered the Chat. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. Please do the downloads. It helps us out on our end, so please download the podcast. The latest episode of The Chat, it's all Alex Bregman, baby. That is Boston Has Entered the Chat, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, he's Keagan Stiefel back on the show. You know what that means, guys. Right. Mock Draft 2.0 coming up. But first, we got some YouTube comments we want to get to from my man, Ice from the 62. First off, though, Keeks, how we doing, my man?
Doing all right. I'm excited to get into another mock draft. I feel like I've been doing mock drafts, mock free agencies, all that for 2 months now. But I'm excited to do it with my boy. It's always more fun with you.
My guy. Hey, last episode of Rush, we were doing big Salem talk, actually, Salem, Mass.
Disrespectful to not include me. the king of Salem, some call me.
We were praising the town. Don't you worry. I was praising it as I always do. Keegan, our boy Alex, the two kings of Salem.
That's right.
Awesome to know you guys. Stand up North Shore, baby. All right, let's get to it. So I loved it. If you guys ever want to comment on our YouTube videos, please do. Give a thumbs up. I try to go through and reply as much as I can. And I'm just going to say this. The beauty of the internet every once in a while, my guy Ice from the 62. Listen to this civil exchange right here. Ice from the 62 goes, Ted McMillan, Devontae Adams, Jalen Noel, Cam Robinson, RJ Harvey. I said, no, yes, yes, yes. He goes, can I hear your replacements on the 2-0s? And he said this, I'm going off how Drake May plays and he throws contested balls and needs someone like Devontae Adams that is a great route runner. I do understand his bad attitude. Told him I'll answer. He said, sounds good, bro. I subscribe to your channel. I'll hear from you Friday. Ice, you called me bro. We're boys. That's it right there.
You guys might go get dinner together, it sounds like. This is just a beautiful friendship.
Maybe breakfast at Red's in Salem?
Listen.
Over a cup of coffee, talk some draft.
Two eggs over easy? Come on.
This is great, too, because you bring up a Jalen Noel. This is a guy that was mentioned in Keegan's Patriots Manifesto. So make sure to check that out on Nesson.com. Just Google it, Patriots Manifesto, Keagan Stiefel. But Ice, I actually want to tell you this. I was wrong. With McMillan, Adams, Noel, Robinson, Harvey, this is actually a no, yes, no, yes for me. So, and you want to hear my replacements? With the Ted McMillan and the Devontae Adams, Keegan, and we'll get into this.
Yeah.
Patriots figure out those top 2 receiver spots in the draft. That could be, and it works. It'll be a lot of money, but it would be a T. Higgins and a Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, 6'4", 215, proven pro product. You're going to have to give him, let's say, 60, 65 million guaranteed at signing, maybe 100 million guaranteed. It'll look like a big AAV, but it's a bad free agency market with a lot of teams that need receivers. And then with the Darius Slayton, he was productive with Tommy DeVito,
with Gabbage,
with Daniel Jones,
trash,
with Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor.
Well, I like Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, he's not bad. Good backup. This guy was 15 yards a catch. He's going to be 27, 28.
Yeah.
3-year deal. He's a man beater on the outside. Jalen Noel, yes.
Absolutely.
Great route runner, great draft pick. You could get him later on. Keegan, give Ice, our guy Ice, your take on Jalen Noel, because you mentioned him in your manifesto. This is a guy you love.
Another manifesto guy, yeah, for sure. I think the way the Patriots need to approach everything is fix it all before you even get to the draft. So at that point, you can draft the best players available. And I think Noel, where he'll be sitting, let's say 4th round, right? I think proven route runner. He's played with big receivers before. He fits the offense to where you would expect him to fit in New England.
Yeah.
Maybe not the number 1 slot guy, but he can play multiple roles. He can be in the slot when Pop Douglas isn't on the field. He can be that Z type when Darius Slayton isn't on the field. Super versatile, really good route runner. And I think he has steps to reach. So I really like Jalen Noel. I think that's a great shout from him.
Yeah, I think that all his position, everything he does as well can fit this offense. You mentioned the different roles that he plays. This guy is 5'10", 5'11", 200 pounds. That is Josh McDaniels type. Pop Douglas has held it down. I mean, his rookie in year 2, he's been great. He was the only guy in the room. Kayshon Boutte thrived like a good scorer on a really bad basketball team. Someone's going to get the points. Kayshon Boutte ended up getting the production.
He's Cam Thomas from the Nets. That's just exactly what he was.
It's funny. I was picturing the Nets in my head. They've just been bad that long.
Empty stats.
But Jalen Noel is a guy that steps in, is a slot. I mean, it could be a Xavier Restrepo. It could be one of those two guys, but I really like Jalen Noel. And then same thing with talking to you, Ice. I say the no on the Cam Robinson. If you end up with Cam Robinson, he's 29. He was okay with the Vikings. I think you're settling. Ronnie Stanley's out there. We'll see what happens with Alaric Jackson. Holding my breath. I really shouldn't. He likely gets tagged. That gets into a whole new realm. My no is on Cam because I want something more, just a higher ceiling. You have the money. It's a lot of spending I'm throwing out there, but you have $132 million in cap space. And finally, RJ Harvey, yes. I mean, that's a downhill runner, bowling ball. Really good route runner, too. I mean, it was a converted receiver. That's a pass-catching back they're lacking. And Keegan, I know you threw out 2 pass-catching backs in your manifesto. So, Ice from the 62, you're my guy. You're now Keegan's guy. You're a friend of the program. Appreciate that comment, my man. Keegs, now let's get into it with the mock draft. You ready?
Let's have some fun.
So this is mock draft 2.0. Last time we did this, we were picking number 1 overall. We traded back. A lot happened. This one, we're picking 4th overall. Because that's what happened. Because
new coach, new guy in charge now.
And the Bills smartly one of the few times I give Sean McDermott credit, made sure to lose that game to not give his rival
couldn't have cared less
number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
We're also going to go into this with 2 pillar positions filled. Alaric Jackson at left tackle, paying him a ton. Rams effed up, let him go to free agency. Let's go Ronnie Stanley. Fine, you have a true left tackle.
There you go.
Cool. And T. Higgins signed. Wide receiver, left tackle, resolved. So we'll get right into it. Number 4 overall. Keegan, are we trading before this draft? I say no.
No.
Okay.
You got to see what comes to you, right? Because if Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are there, who the hell's trading back in that scenario? So
exactly.
Yep.
All right, start draft. We'll get into it. So we're going slow style. We'll see how the Titans, the Browns, and the Giants.
We will speed it up after, right? We're not going to be sitting here.
No, not the whole way. We don't got 3 hours. As you guys heard from our guy, Eric Edholm, he sees, and this is a different top 3 than he had. He had Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, Abdul Carter. 1, 2, 3. This went Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Tet McMillan. So Travis Hunter and Mason Graham are on the board.
Yuck.
Yes.
Tet McMillan at 3 is unbelievable.
If there's a trade back to 7 or 8, Carter, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter are gone, which would be likely, I would settle with Tet.
So here's where I'm at. This is Mock Draft 2.0.
Yep.
We've mocked already. Go back and watch. I think we did a really good job, to pat myself on the back there, but we've already drafted Travis Hunter. And I think throughout this process, we will continue to be talking about Travis Hunter, just like we will with Abdul Carter. So in my eyes, this is a trade back spot. This is to see how much value can you recoup, because like trading back in the 3rd round, no one cares, right? So here, I think we trade back somewhere in the middle, single digits, a 5, 6, 7, 8 number.
Best you get right now, this is according to PFF, Panthers at 8 and the Saints at 9. Top 2 picks. After that, it's Falcons at 15 that are interested in trading with the Pats.
Give me the Panthers.
Panthers, all right, so I'm going to ask for the 8th, 58th, 109th pick. I tried to throw in another first. They said no. Let me throw in another second. We can get the 8th, 58th, 109th in this draft.
Just brutalizing this team.
And 2026 is round 2. Maybe we got to butter them up. We give them a future 3rd.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Okay, let's get a little realistic. All right, I'm offering it. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. Like last time, I am Mike Borgonzi. Wish we got him. And Keegan is my right-hand man.
That's right.
So traded back from 4 to 8. Little simulation. Mason Graham at 4 has gone. Malachi Starks at 5. Ooh, Mason Graham. Shador Sanders at 6. Jets at 7. Mason Graham would not make sense. They went Travis Hunter.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Did I misread that? Yeah, Mason Graham went 4. I was like, I know I'm off here. So, best overall, Ashton Ginty, Will Johnson, Will Campbell, James Pierce, Luther Burden, Keegan's boy, Mike Green, but you could get him later on. Josh Simmons, Tyler Warren. I'm listing off a ton. This is where it gets interesting.
I know where I want to go.
Where do you want to go?
Will Campbell. And I have...
That's a really good guard.
Yeah.
After you just signed Ronnie Stanley.
And he's like...
He can
play tackle. You know what I mean? Like, he can play tackle. You also need to replace the guy on the right side, too. Like, DeMondre Jacobs isn't going to be your day 1 right tackle. So, you take Will Campbell, 2 upgrades on the offensive line. You didn't have to use a number 4 pick to get it. You got an extra second. You got 2 extra seconds.
Yeah.
So, I feel more comfortable taking him in this scenario than I would just at number 4.
All right. Let's go Will Campbell.
All right. That was easy.
I like Will Johnson, man, at corner. But it's, again...
At the end of the day, you have to upgrade at tackle. You just have to.
Now, hear me out, though. Who did we sign again? Alaric Jackson, T. Higgins. We didn't sign a pass rusher. Shamar Stewart's right there.
Yeah.
Do you want to go Will Johnson or Shamar Stewart in a draft that is deeper in tackles in the later rounds?
So, I think this draft is deepest at defensive line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I'm taking the tackle who everybody thinks he's the top tackle on the board. I'm taking that guy now, and then I can really beef up the defensive line. I'm not talking just with the 2nd round pick, but maybe both 2nd round picks, maybe a 2nd and a 3rd. We saw what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl, right? Like, everybody's going to want to build their team that way.
Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, 3rd, 4th round picks.
Right. Everybody's going to want to build their team that way. Let's lean into that right now, right? You take Will Campbell, and then in the 2nd, the 3rd round, you can really start to get creative with the defensive line. That's how I view it.
All right. Look. I'll go Will Campbell. And this is going to be nice. Mock Draft 2.0. When we get to Mock Draft 17.0, we'll see. So we're drafting Will Campbell, 8th overall. It's still slow. Now think about it. We have the 38th, 58th, 69th, 77th pick. We could trade back into this first if we want.
Yeah.
But we just got the offensive tackle, Will Johnson, gone. This is the thing, too. Do you wait around, like you said, for a deep defensive line draft, or do we get back in? And that's when later, maybe we get a Shamar Stewart, right? Yeah. Maybe we get a Micah Green out of Marshall.
That's what I mean. Like, these guys they're gonna slip a little bit just in terms of what teams need, because it's such a deep class at edge rusher and defensive tackle. Really, like the Mike Greens of the
Stewart
world
went 18th.
Did Michael Williams go?
Michael Williams most likely did. Yeah, he did 15th.
Did Carter go?
Who?
Georgia.
Let me check. Jack Sawyer just went. Your boy, 23rd.
Yeah, I like that guy.
All right, like Carter went.
So these are the guys that are going to be stepping ahead of a Mike Green, right? Mike Green's not going to be off the board at number 8. That's ridiculous.
No.
I think he's slipping to the second round. We're trying to be as realistic as possible. We have to focus on what PFF does, obviously, but you're going to have good options here in the second and third rounds.
Your boy Gray Zabel just went to the Commanders.
That's my guy.
You had him as a left tackle in your mock. Or in your manifesto, excuse me.
I did. Really, that was me presenting the argument that if you get two guys who can play every position on the offensive line, you can do whatever you want. So I think Zabel can play left tackle, left guard, right guard, and center. I think Patrick McCarry can play every position on the offensive line. So I signed McCarry. I drafted Zabel. Whoever wins the left tackle job, it's yours. Whoever doesn't, you're our left guard.
So now we're sitting at 38. Let me see if our boy Mike Green went. Yep, Green's off the board. So we went offensive tackle. Looking at the wide receivers, Jack Besh had a tremendous Senior Bowl.
Great story.
Really big slot. Yeah. Obviously, everything he dealt with his brother and all that. And he still showed up at the Senior Bowl. I think that shows the makeup of him.
Yeah.
A guy I'm not high on, because when I watch his tape, I just don't see the high-end speed to create separation. Really smart player, strong receiver, good run blocker, buys in at that level. So is this a spot where you'd go with a Jack Besh, or you see a Xavier Restrepo, that slot? We could see a Jalen Noel later on. And you know my guy, the Jaden Higgins, not to get all locked in on these later round receivers are there. And the same thing, though. So we went tackle. Look, deep draft, but we need a difference maker in the trenches and on the edge. Do we concentrate on those parts? New defensive coordinator, wants to go wide 9, wants disruptors at the defensive line. And so to that, there is the Princely Uomanale from Ole Miss. Did not say that right. Don't hold me to it. Darius Alexander right now is mocked to go 65th. I think he doesn't last that long. But do we go with the current grades?
I love Darius Alexander. I'd draft him first overall. I think there's a chance he becomes the best defensive lineman in this draft. And I say that seriously. I'm not joking. He is the most impressive fat guy I've ever seen at the Senior Bowl. He was unbelievable. I don't think he's going to move up so far. Like, he played at Toledo, right? And there are consistency issues. So I don't think he's going to move up so far where he's drafted in this area. But don't forget, we have the second round pick. So is that a guy you come back and you draft with that pick, you address either your wide receiver need or your edge need now?
So if we're thinking wide receiver, I like that with a deeper pick, especially with all these other picks we accrued. Jack Besh, still there. Landon Jackson, that would have been the old Patriot system type of defensive end. Hold blocks, sustain them, let other guys behind you make plays. There is JT Tuamaloa, but I think same thing. That's more of a 3-4 defensive end in my opinion.
So looking at this group right now, I've got 3 names that I would be comfortable with. Jack Besh, he's just a good wide receiver. You don't have to worry about really whether or not he knows how to play the position, but is he a great fit? I don't know, but I still like Jack Besh. Princely out of Ole Miss, another guy who I think can, at the end of, in 5 or 6 years when you're looking at this draft, he could be the best edge player. And then Kyle Kennard is a guy I've talked about on this show.
Yeah.
I love him. I think those are the 3 guys you're between. I know you have certain thoughts on those guys. I don't know who you would like to pick, but
here's my thing. So Darius Slayton, T. Higgins makes up this receiver room.
Yeah.
Jaden Higgins right there. This is a guy, you don't take him now, he could be gone by that back end.
Definitely.
And that's a guy, big receiver, better route runner, really smart in the zone. I just think similar Florida Besh, he's a really good run blocker. I think his ceiling's a lot higher. So I want to go Jaden Higgins here.
Let's go for it.
Cool. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to check out Foxboro Rush wherever you get your podcasts. We got new episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from former Patriots players to former Patriots coaches to NFL draft experts, all hopping on Foxboro Rush wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please make sure to download. You could also watch on Neston's YouTube page as well. Bingo. All right, and
I'm entrusting you.
We're gonna have to speed up this pretty soon.
Yeah,
you know what? Let me go on this.
This is ridiculous.
Pause. Speed is over there.
There you go.
All right. I got you guys. Yeah, now we're moving. By the way, Mike Green in this PFF mock went 13th, Keegan. That's high.
I'd like to speak to
Top
somebody
25
at PFF because they are ridiculous. It's bad the way they do things over there. Jalen Walker and then Kyle Kennard going right before your pick is tough. Don't love that.
All right, picking 58th, Darius Alexander's there. We went offensive tackle.
Yeah.
He could be a left guard or a right tackle. We went a wide receiver 3 with the room how it's currently set up. Big wide receiver
at the end of the day, if he's better than Darius Slayton,
he's going
to play over him.
You're
not paying Darius Slayton enough money to make that decision.
Jaden Higgins also could play in the slot as well, really big slot. We go Darius Alexander here. You met me halfway with Higgins. I say we go Darius Alexander.
Give me my boy.
Yep. Look at this. Started slow. We're picking up, folks. We're picking up. Espressos are kicking in.
The ball's rolling. This is still not fast enough. Another thing I said earlier.
It takes a while to process.
I've got beef with PFF. Like, the interface, not great. I'm not going to act like I know how to fix that. But the decisions with the draft, guys, we understand you watch tape. You think you know what you're talking about. Let's take into account what teams actually do in real life, not just, a schlub over at PFF and what he thinks. No offense.
This is when it gets interesting. So we could see Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. It's a tackle, but...
Yeah, doubling down.
Yeah, and it's a little too early if I'm going to go there. I'd rather go interior line. This is a team that needs a cornerback, too.
Yeah.
Again, we had our guy Eric Edholm on. He had Ezeiruaku Thomas out of Florida State in his first-round mock. And he said what he's hearing at Mobile is that this is a guy that can make a leap. If you don't go Ezeiruaku Thomas, Maxwell Hairston makes sense at this spot. Again, they're picking next to 77.
Small, though. I think one of the big things that we don't talk about enough, because it's tough to take into account in these, is trends that teams follow. And something that Mike Vrabel, and this goes back to Belichick, this was a big Belichick thing, if you're under 6 foot and you're not a 4-2 guy, I'm not drafting you to play corner.
And that was Jonathan Jones. That was Marcus Jones.
Right. You need a guy who's either going to be above 6 feet tall or he's the fastest player on your team.
Yep.
Maxwell Hairston's neither one of those things. So I talked about him in an earlier episode where I really like him as a player. He just doesn't fit what Mike Vrabel and the Belichick coaching tree, what they look for.
Yeah. This is what I'm looking for right now. Where's your boy, Daryl Fannin?
Harold. Down there. He's down there. They don't love him. And
he's still sticking around. His ADP is 89.
This is, if we're going to crap all over PFF, maybe I'll give him a little bit of credit. Let me draft him in the 6th round. I'm fine with it because I think he's a great player. At the end of the day, I think he's going to go a little bit higher than they have right now. Like, he's not their 89th best player. That's ridiculous.
And even looking, it's not the off-ball linebacker range. We went Shahad Campbell last one. This is one we'll sit around. Safeties are still too rich at this point.
Yeah.
I like Jonas Sanker, but again, that's a later round pick.
Running tackles again. Give me the tackles again.
This will be interesting. I mean, Marcus Embo out of Purdue.
That's a guy. Like, all the people I respect love him.
Yeah.
Dane Brugler is like, this guy could be a superstar. I don't know if he knows how to play the position yet, so you need to get him into a room with a good offensive line coach. But, I don't think anybody on the Patriots staff has watched more football than Doug Marrone. So I would imagine he'd be able to kind of bring him up to the level where you would need him. But like you said earlier, we took care of that need already.
You need to build out the depth, though. Mike Onwenu getting up there in age. Does Layden Robinson make that leap? Maybe you don't need him to. You have Will Campbell.
Cole Strange is a weird – does he play center?
Yeah, does he go back to guard? What's happening with David Andrews?
Right.
So I actually do like this is – you got to rebuild in the trenches. And when you get Doug Marrone with 2 assistant offensive line coaches, and what Bill O'Brien, when he was on Rush, loved about Doug Marrone is he knows how to develop. He looks at a guy and goes, you're not a guard, you're a tackle, vice versa.
Yeah.
Does that. I trust a guy that's been coaching over 40 years with a project like Marcus Embo.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I think we go Embo here, and we go, let's make it quick, Fannin, 77.
Sure, let's do it. And one thing I do think we should hit at the latter half of the draft is interior offensive linemen.
Yes.
So, we'll fill it out with all the stuff we've mentioned already. Cornerback, maybe a running back, a safety, an off-ball linebacker. But adding an interior offensive lineman, I think, is going to be big because a lot of the guys we've seen in the last few years, Jake Andrews hasn't seen the field in 2 years.
Yeah.
City So can't stay on the field. Lester Cotton, these guys,
oh God,
just get them out of the building and start bringing in some fresh faces.
And what you get with Harold Fannin, I think the Patriots bring back Austin Hooper on a contract.
I agree.
He played for Josh McDaniels. He's a tight end you can trust.
He played for Vrabel in Tennessee.
Exactly. And obviously him and Drake may have a rapport. He was probably the most underrated offensive player for them. But if you have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, Harold Fanion, this is a weapon. This is a weapon on the outside. Good pass catcher. You love him out of Bowling Green. This might be second straight mock we're taking him in, so we're going to have to switch it up next time, but I'm taking Harold Fanion here.
With Fannin, too, he's a move tight end, so he kind of plays a different position than Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper. Think about those 2 tight end sets that the Patriots ran in the early to mid-2010s. Aaron Hernandez kind of made that spot famous, but they've continually tried to fill that role. Martellus Bennett did it really well for one season. Jonnu Smith didn't quite fit, but they signed him for a reason alongside Hunter Henry. So I think having a guy who fits that role really changes what you can do on offense.
Yeah. And I think that's what's important too, is like he can just be such a difference maker. Like Jaheim Bell is still there, but that was
such a project.
That was 7th round pick for a reason.
That guy's like a fullback at this point, a modern day fullback.
Yeah, if you can, and Josh McDaniels likes his throwback fullbacks,
right?
Like a Jakob Johnson. All right, sitting at 104, Jalen Noel is there. Ooh. It's a weird double dip with Iowa State weapons.
I mean, if we're just going to only take offensive tackles and wide receivers, kind of like what are we doing? And we already took a weapon, right?
And we signed 2 receivers.
Signed receivers.
I'm just thinking down the road, man.
I think we look defense here. I think defensive line or edge. Like, did we really address the edge need?
No.
So
that's the thing too of with just Darius Alexander, the pick, we went 4 of the 5 picks on offense.
Yeah.
You really need to go heavy on edge out here. So we'll boil it down. Now this is what's looking like it'll be a reach apparently on certain parts. So Baron Sorrell, Elijah Roberts, Savion Jones, Ahmed Hassanein, and then Antoine Powell-Ryland. Powell-Ryland, this is where you get into the value, and it's like, are you reaching on a guy?
Yeah.
And in a deep edge draft, like we say, who are the guys later on that you like? RJ Obin's okay. Ja Joyner's all right. You need difference makers on the edge. So maybe that's something we ignored. Maybe we should have done this before the draft. And, like pick 219 there, that's a Bryce Huff. You could even do 219 in a future 4th, and that would get you Bryce Huff.
Yeah.
Very affordable, and that's an edge rusher. Next to 2 B-gap defenders, and you figure out with Keon White, like you have depth in your defensive line. That's what.
And with Alexander, you do get the, he can play multiple positions, just like Keon White can. He's best inside in the same way that Keon White is.
Yep.
But if you really need to, you can play him out on the edge, and you have options to play out on the edge. I like Baron Sorrell. I don't know if I love him at 104. Maybe we look in the secondary now, and then we come back to edge. Maybe Sorrell will still be there. I don't know.
This is where you read the board. Like Mello Dotson's there.
Kobe Bryant. I like him better than Dotson. So
is that where you go with Kobe Bryant, this part, and you hope Sorrell falls to you in the next pick?
Yeah, in an ideal world, that's where I go.
All right, we're doing it. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to check out Foxboro Rush wherever you get your podcasts. We got new episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from former Patriots players to former Patriots coaches to NFL draft experts, all hopping on Foxboro Rush wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please make sure to download. You could also watch on Neston's YouTube page as well. So our picks so far.
Only a couple picks, right?
Yeah. So you didn't have to wait long. We'll see if he's still there. Yeah, Baron Sorrell's there. Will Campbell, Jaden Higgins, Darius Alexander, Marcus Embaugh, Harold Fannin, and now Kobe Bryant at corner.
So you've taken care of tackle.
Yep.
You've taken care of your secondary. With this pick with Baron Sorrell, if we do take him, you've taken care of the defensive line. Wide receivers already, you're set because you've got Jaden Higgins on top of what you signed in the offseason.
Yep.
Tight end, you've added a second one. Now we can just have fun. Now it's like start board, who's the best player available, we're going to take him.
Yep. And this is Kobe Bryant, who you take a corner. Just under 6 foot, 170 pounds. His vision is athleticism. Yeah. To your point, if you're not going to bring the size, bring speed, bring athleticism. That's a guy that coming out of Kansas could be a corner, but he can end up being a free safety down the line.
I was going to say and he fits the role of.
He's a Kalen Bullock.
Every safety on the Patriots roster should be playing like new age linebacker. They should all be in the box. They should all be covering tight ends. You kind of need that free safety, that guy who can be a deep third by himself. I think Bryant fits that. The same way a Marcus Jones fits that right now. You can now that you've added another piece to the defensive backfield, you can get really creative. You can move guys all over the place.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go with your guy Baron Sorrell.
Sweet.
I'm down. I'm down to take someone from Texas from an elite defense.
A really good defense, right?
Yeah.
And if it weren't for, I forget who the freshman linebacker is at Texas, who is a freak, but if it weren't for him, Baron Sorrell would be getting the headlines in that front seven.
All right, so far for the picks that we've made, Will Campbell, Jaden Higgins, Darius Alexander, Embaugh, Fannin, Bryant, Sorrell. So we went defense back to back.
Yep.
Now picking 144th overall. This is where it gets interesting.
How many picks do we have left?
4 picks.
Okay.
144, then it goes 219, 222, 240.
Big layoff here.
Yes.
Big one.
Okay. You know how I stand with Michigan running backs.
I know. You love them.
And you know who I want to wait for.
D-Ed?
Yep.
I think he'll be there in the 200s.
Yeah, I agree. So, or do we go Taj Brooks right now? He won't be there next time we come around. Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech.
I think Edwards fits what you're looking for now. I think Brooks in a couple of years maybe will fit what you're looking for. Like, you keep adding miles to Ramondre Stevenson, you're going to need a guy who can take on early down.
Yep.
Take an early down role. I think that's Brooks. Right now, though, with Antonio Gibson alongside him, another like really athletic third down back, a guy you could throw the ball to, I think that's Edwards. So it's really what you're looking for. Are you looking for somebody now, or are you looking for somebody for the future?
And especially if you take a flyer on Edwards in the 7th, I'd live with that. With Taj Brooks, to your point of someone now, that's someone that they've been like searching for, right?
Yeah. And
it's a little rich. I don't want to trade back because I'm not worried. Let's just look real quick, aside from quarterbacks, who else is on the board. Oladejo out of UCLA. That's another edge.
Brining Stool, but that's like we don't need 14 tight ends on this roster.
I know. Really. Trevor Etienne.
A headache.
Yeah.
I think I'm all set on him.
You don't want Kyle McCord? Kobe King. I think at this part, you go Taj Brooks. Feels like a little bit of a reach when you're going 40 slots ahead of him. But if he fills that need, and that's a guy that could be a goal line back, fill in if Ramondre Stevenson gets injured.
Before we do that, let's look at the interior offensive lineman.
Yeah,
if we can get one of these guys who's super versatile, I think that's worth it. You know, Jonah Monheim is a guy we drafted last time. Seth McLaughlin. You know what? I'm going to put my foot down.
You want Seth McLaughlin at Ohio State?
He's the best center in the draft. He's just not going to be able to play this year. He tore his ACL late in the season, or it was an Achilles, actually. So, like, you're probably looking at a redshirt rookie year. But with the Patriots and what you need right now, like David Andrews has one, if that, year left. And Cole Strange, his contract will be up after, I believe, this year.
Yep.
Get Seth McLaughlin, get him in your system, and have a starting center moving forward for next year and beyond. I think Seth McLaughlin, the fact that he fell this far is crazy to me.
Okay. You're standing on the table. This is your stand on the table. Don't. All right. This is your stand on the table moment, not literally.
I was going to do it.
I know.
That would have been a bad angle for the folks.
It would have been weird. I'm thinking of our viewers.
Yeah.
Seth McLaughlin done.
I mean, like, that's a great player. That's Alabama to Ohio State. Was a superstar, and then he just got hurt.
Yeah.
That's all that was.
That's a guy at really high IQ.
He played for Nick Saban.
6'3", 305. And then he went and played at Ohio State.
Right.
Two pro-style offenses.
Chip Kelly. He played in that offense. He played with a lot of really good players. So
I'm staying away. I'm not doing quarterbacks.
Jackson.
What's that?
I just noticed that Jaquindon Jackson, the running back out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
The Patriots have a guy named Jaquay Jackson. Just funny little.
Oh, you're making an observation there.
Just making an observational stuff.
All right, you put your foot down. I don't want like re-racking other.
You know what? I'll let you take it from here because I've put my foot down too many times in this draft. I got my Darius Alexander. I got my Harold Fannin. I got my Seth McLaughlin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch you cook.
So I appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you. I love cooking. But Karen Reed, interesting.
Chef George.
When I'm looking at all these depth pieces and where we go, the running back position, I just want to get fancy here, and I don't want to go with a guy I already drafted. That's Donovan Edwards.
Yeah.
You took me away from Taj Brooks, though. You know, I'm putting my foot down. Give me Raheem Sanders.
Oh, Rocket Sanders.
Yep, there we go. Got to do that. All right, where do we go after Raheem Sanders? We're up against the clock, Keegs. You helped me out here. I appreciate you letting me cook, but let's go.
Best player available. Take off the position stuff.
I'm not taking a quarterback.
Don't need a quarterback.
Fadil Diggs.
That's
edge.
all quarterbacks, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, Malachi Moore is a guy who has some issues with coaching, but he's a good player. Like, he's a good athlete. Do you want him? Kind of try to work him into the secondary. One of the Colorado receivers would be fun.
You put Malachi Moore in an experienced coaching room with the safeties coach that the Patriots now have. Hunter Waller out of Wisconsin, you just know he's going to be smart.
Yeah.
But what's his ceiling like? I'm going this. Let me go with the flashy flyer. Let me go Malachi Moore.
All right.
I'm trusting in my head coach I brought in.
Right, culture builder, right?
If he was a corner, I'd be more hesitant, but he's not. All right, so we went with your boy Rocket. I don't like any of these.
That's your boy. That was your pick.
I don't like any of the quarterbacks left.
What are we wasting our time for?
Drew Kendall, BC.
Another guy in the manifesto.
Another depth center.
Yeah.
Kyron Lacey out of LSU.
I don't think he'll make it to the NFL, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's a guy I think we spoke about last one, too. Just doesn't have that next level makeup.
Well, also, I don't know if you heard, maybe the biggest off-field controversy in the history of draft lead-up.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's going to make it that far. I really don't.
Tonka Hemingway, USC. That's what I'm doing. South Carolina.
Do it.
Big.
It's a big boy.
Big
boy.
Get us to depth. All right. That's it. Mock draft closed out. Man, that was like speed round. That was exciting. Accelerating.
Yeah, we were running up against it there. We were just trying to figure it out.
Give us a draft. Give us a grade, baby. Give us a draft. Give us a grade. Stay in your seat. Grading your draft. And PFF says... Where's the grade?
B- is my guess.
B. A little better. Not as tough of a grader. Trade back. Will Campbell. There you guys see it. Jaden Higgins. Darius Alexander. Rebuilt the trenches. Filled out some depth with Seth McLaughlin. Got depth with Raheem Sanders. Took on some projects. And Malachi Moore. Of course, with the Marcus Embaugh at different parts. And we got weapons for the quarterback. That's important. I like this draft, man.
I do too. I think we did a great job.
Look at that first round. Ted McMillan 3. We got helped out a little bit there.
Round of applause in the chat. Well done, Keagan and George.
Appreciate our guy, Ice. Keagan, next time, no trading back. New rule.
I like that.
Mock Draft 3.0. He's Keagan Stiefel. I'm George Balekji. Shout out to Eric Edholm for joining the show. Shout out to you guys for commenting, giving us some conversations to talk about.
Our new friends.
And let us know, what do you think of the mock? What would you do different? Trade backs, other guys laying the rounds. Who do you want to hear about? Leave us a comment on our YouTube page. Please continue to like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. I cannot tell you how important it is. If you guys download the podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen, that's big for us. And just how we measure the success of these shows. We know they're successful because, guys, we got awesome listeners like you. GB, Keagan Stiefel. Have a great day, everyone. This was Foxboro Rush.